Hello, Arsenal family, and welcome back to Arsenal Daily News. Today we've got some absolutely massive news coming out of the Emirates that every single Gooner needs to hear right now. We are talking about Mikel Arteta dropping a bombshell three-word admission about his future at the club, critical injury updates on Kai Havertz, Ben White, and Gabriel Magalhães that could completely change our season, and the latest on Victor Gyökeres and his worrying goal drought just when we need him most. This is not just another update video. This is about understanding where Arsenal Football Club stands right now as we approach the most crucial period of the season. We have got a manager who, after 6 years, is still talking about earning the right to be here tomorrow. We have got key players returning from injury at exactly the right time. And we have got a title race that is heating up with Manchester City and Aston Villa breathing down our necks. Arteta has given us a rare glimpse into his mentality, revealing exactly what keeps him the job and why he still commands total respect from every player in that dressing room. The injury news could be the difference between mounting a serious title challenge and falling away in the second half of the season. And the situation with Gyökeres, who has now gone 5 games without a goal, is becoming more concerning by the week. We are also going to break down Gabriel Jesus' powerful statement about his future at Arsenal and why he is rejecting big money moves to stay and fight for trophies at the Emirates. Plus, with the January transfer window approaching and Arsenal currently injury hit, we will discuss whether the club needs to act decisively in the market to keep our title hopes alive. The margins at the top of the Premier League are razor thin right now. One bad result, one key injury, one striker failing to find form, and suddenly you are playing catch-up. Arsenal cannot afford any slip-ups as we head into the festive period, and the pressure is absolutely on. So make sure you stay with me all the way through this video because we're going to break down every single detail, analyze what it all means for Arsenal's title challenge, and discuss exactly what needs to happen for this club to finally get back to winning Premier League trophies. This is a kind of in-depth analysis you will not find anywhere else. And trust me, by the end of this video, you will have a complete understanding of where Arsenal stands and where we are heading. Let's dive straight into it, starting with those 3 words from Arteta that tell you everything you need to know about the man leading this football club. Arsenal Daily News, Mikel Arteta's future and squad update analysis. Hello, Arsenal family, and welcome back to Arsenal Daily News. Today we are diving deep into some absolutely crucial news coming out of the Emirates. We are talking about Mikel Arteta's future at Arsenal, some telling comment from the boss himself, and critical updates on key players who could make or break our season. This is a story that every Gooner needs to hear, so make sure you stick around until the end, because we're going to break down exactly what this all means for Arsenal Football Club moving forward. The 3 words that say everything. Let's start with a headline that is getting everyone talking. Mikel Arteta has given us an update on his future at Arsenal, and it came with a 3-word admission that tells you everything you need to know about the mentality of our manager. Those 3 words are earn the right. Now, before we get into what he said, let's set the scene here. Arteta currently has 18 months remaining on his contract as Arsenal manager. We're talking about a man who has been in charge for 6 years now. 6 years of transformation, 6 years of rebuilding, and 6 years of progress. But despite all that history and all that success, when he was asked if he could see himself staying at Arsenal beyond those remaining 18 months, his answer was revealing. He said yes, but then immediately followed it up with something that shows you the character of this man. He said it is about today, and a lot of things have to happen in the next few months as well to earn the right. Think about that for a second. Here is a manager who has spent 6 years at one of the biggest clubs in world football, and he is still talking about earning the right to be there tomorrow. The daily battle for respect. Arteta went even deeper with his explanation, and this is where it gets really interesting for us as Arsenal fans. He said, and I quote, "I think the manager has to earn the right to be here tomorrow. That is how you react, how you talk here, how you go in the dressing room, the message that you send, how much the players follow you. This is not a man resting on his laurels. This is not a manager who thinks his job is secure just because he has been here for 6 years. Every single day, he goes into that training ground, into that dressing room, knowing that he has to prove himself again. He has to get the players to buy into his vision, to follow his instructions, to give everything for the team. And here is something that should make every Arsenal fan feel confident about where we are heading. Arteta talked about the support he gets from the ownership and the board, and he said it is great, but then he made it crystal clear where his real validation comes from. He said the most important support comes from the players themselves, the test of the dressing room. Now, this next part is absolutely fascinating because Arteta gave us a real insight into how he measures whether he is doing his job properly. He described what it is like when he opens the dressing room door and confronts the players. He talked about whether they're engaged and attentive or whether they're switched off and disinterested. And then he dropped this absolute gem. He said, for 6 years, I have seen just players with a level of attention and desire to learn and give the maximum to the team. That is what keeps me in this job. Nothing else. Let that sink in for a moment. After 6 years, he is still getting complete buy-in from the squad. That is not easy to maintain. We have seen countless managers lose the dressing room after 2 or 3 years. Player power has destroyed managerial reigns at clubs across Europe. But Arteta is telling us that after 6 years, the Arsenal players are still hanging on his every word, still desperate to learn, still willing to give everything for the team. That tells you something about the respect he commands. It tells you something about his man management skills. And it tells you something about the culture he has built at Arsenal Football Club, the winning mentality. But Arteta did not stop there. He also mentioned something else that keeps him in the job. He talked about winning a lot of football matches and said that percentage-wise, he thinks it is quite high. He said that is the only way to survive in this environment. And he is absolutely right. At a club like Arsenal, you need results. The fans demand it, the board expects it, and the history of the club requires it. But what is interesting here is that Arteta is not just talking about winning. He is talking about winning consistently, maintaining a high win percentage over a sustained period of time. When you look at what is achieved in 6 years, taking a club that was in disarray and turning them into genuine title contenders, you can see why he talks with confidence about his record. But even with all that success, he never once sounded complacent in these comments. He knows that football is a what have you done for me lately business, and he is ready for that challenge every single day. The context behind the questions. Now it is worth noting why these questions about Arteta's future are being asked right now. The article mentions that there have been discussions about whether Pep Guardiola at Manchester City and Enzo Maresca at Chelsea will remain at their respective clubs for much longer. That context is important because it shows that managerial stability across the Premier League is being questioned at multiple top clubs. But what stands out is how Arteta handled the question compared to what we might hear from other managers. He did not give a politician's answer. He did not dodge the question. He gave us a genuine insight into his mentality and his philosophy about what it takes to succeed as Arsenal manager. This is a man who understands the demands of the job, who respects the history and size of Arsenal Football Club, and who knows that nothing is guaranteed in football. But it is also a man who backs himself to deliver, who believes in his methods, and who has the support of both the board and the players. Kai Havertz injury update. Now let's move on to some crucial team news, because Arteta also gave us an update on Kai Havertz, and this could be massive for Arsenal's season. According to the article, Havertz had knee surgery back in August and has been working his way back to fitness ever since. The good news is that Arteta revealed Havertz is close to a return. In fact, the manager said he is progressing really well and quite fast in the last few weeks. That is exactly what Arsenal fans want to hear, because we all know how important Havertz has become to this team. Arteta went on to say that if everything continues like that in the next training sessions, Havertz will be with us soon. Now notice that Arteta was careful not to give a specific timeline. He said he does not want to commit to an exact return date, and he explained why. He said that in that last part of rehab, especially after such a long time out, the medical team needs to be cautious. This is smart management from Arteta. He said he will need to go really firm with the risk we take along the way to make sure, when Havertz is back, he is back for the long term. In other words, there is no point rushing Havertz back for 1 or 2 games if it means he breaks down again and misses another few months. Why Havertz matters. For those who might not fully appreciate just how important Kai Havertz is to this Arsenal team, let me break it down for you. Since he arrived from Chelsea, Havertz has transformed himself into one of the most versatile and effective players in the Premier League. He can play as a striker, as a number 10, or even in midfield, and he brings something unique to Arsenal's system. His movement off the ball is exceptional. His ability to link play and bring others into the game is crucial to how Arsenal break down deep defenses. And perhaps most importantly, he has developed a real understanding with the other attacking players, particularly Bukayo Saka and Gabriel Martinelli. When Havertz has been missing, Arsenal have had to adjust their tactics, and while they have coped reasonably well, there is no doubt that having him back will give Arteta more options and more flexibility in how the team sets up. The fact that his return is imminent should excite every Arsenal supporter. Ben White's injury situation. Arteta also provided an update on Ben White, and again this is important news for Arsenal. According to the manager, White will only miss a few games. That is relatively good news considering how crucial White is to Arsenal's defensive structure. White has become absolutely fundamental to how Arsenal play. He is not just a right back who defends well. He is a player who inverts into midfield, who helps Arsenal build from the back, and who provides an extra body in central areas when Arsenal have possession. His tactical intelligence and his ability to follow complex instructions make him one of Arteta's most important players. The fact that he is only going to miss a few games rather than weeks or months means Arsenal should be able to navigate this period without too much disruption. But it will still require some adjustment, and it will be interesting to see who Arteta turns to in White's absence and how he adapts the tactical setup. Gabriel Magalhães update. There was also positive news about Gabriel Magalhães. Arteta said he was quite positive that the center-back will be back during the busy festive period. This is huge because Gabriel is a defensive leader, the dominant presence at the heart of Arsenal's backline. Gabriel's partnership with William Saliba has been one of the best center-back pairings in the Premier League over the past couple of seasons. They complement each other perfectly. Saliba brings elegance and composure on the ball, while Gabriel provides physicality, aerial dominance, and that warrior mentality that Arsenal need in big games. Having Gabriel back for the festive period, which is always one of the most demanding stretches of the Premier League season, will be a massive boost for Arsenal. The games come thick and fast over Christmas and New Year, and having your best center-back available for that run of fixtures could make a real difference in the title race. The 6-year anniversary. It is worth taking a moment to reflect on the fact that Arteta will celebrate his 6-year anniversary at Arsenal on Saturday night. 6 years is a long time in modern football management. The average lifespan of a Premier League manager is much shorter than that, and to survive and thrive for 6 years at a club of Arsenal's size is a genuine achievement. When Arteta arrived in December 2019, Arsenal were in crisis. The club had lost its identity. The playing style was confused, the atmosphere around the Emirates was toxic, and there was a real sense that Arsenal had fallen way behind their rivals. Remember where we were. We were finishing 8th in the league. We were miles off the pace, and there were serious questions about whether Arsenal could ever get back to competing at the highest level. Fast forward 6 years and look at the transformation. Arsenal are now genuine title contenders. The style of play is clear and effective. The squad is young, hungry, and talented. The atmosphere of the Emirates is electric again, and most importantly, there's a real sense of direction and purpose about everything the club does. That transformation did not happen by accident. It happened because of the vision that Arteta had, the backing he received from the board, the trust that was placed in his methods even when results were not immediately forthcoming, and the hard work that everyone at the club put in to turn things around. What this all means for Arsenal. So what should we take away from all of this news? Well, first and foremost, we should feel confident about the stability and direction of Arsenal Football Club. We have a manager who is totally committed to the project, who has the support of everyone from the owners down to players, and who has proven over 6 years that he knows how to build a winning team. The fact that Arteta still talks about earning the right to be here tomorrow shows that he has not become complacent. He understands that success in football is never permanent, that you have to keep working, keep improving, and keep pushing yourself and your players to be better. That mentality is exactly what Arsenal need if they're going to take the next step and actually win the Premier League title. On the injury front, the news is largely positive. Havertz is close to returning. which will give Arsenal a huge boost in attack. Ben White will only miss a few games, so the disruption at right back should be minimal. And Gabriel should be back for the festive period, which means Arsenal will have their best center-back available for one of the most crucial stretches of the season, the title race implications. All of this matters enormously in the context of the title race. Arsenal are in the mix again this season, competing with Manchester City, Liverpool, and others for the Premier League crown. The margins at the top are incredibly fine. 1 or 2 injuries to key players can derail a title challenge. One bad run of form over the Christmas period can leave you too far behind to catch up. The fact that Arsenal are getting key players back at crucial times, the fact that Arteta has shown he can manage the squad through busy periods, and the fact that there is such strong unity and purpose throughout the club, all of these things give Arsenal a real chance of going all the way this season. But as Arteta himself said, it is about today. It is about the next game, the next training session, the next challenge. Nothing is guaranteed in football, and Arsenal cannot afford to look too far ahead or assume that things will work out. They have to keep earning the right to be considered title contenders, just as Arteta has to keep earning the right to be Arsenal manager. Final thoughts. What we are seeing here is a manager at the peak of his powers, completely in sync with his club, backed by his players and his board, and ready to take Arsenal back to where they belong at the very top of English football. The 3-word admission of earn the right tells you everything you need to know about Arteta's mentality. This is not a man who will ever rest on his laurels or assume that past success guarantees future results. For Arsenal fans, that should be incredibly reassuring. We have seen too many times in the past where the club has become complacent, where standards have slipped, where the ambition has not matched the size and history of Arsenal Football Club. But under Arteta, there's a relentless drive to be better, to improve, to compete, and to win. The injury updates are also encouraging. Getting Havertz, White, and Gabriel back in the coming weeks will strengthen Arsenal significantly. These are not just squad players. These are absolutely fundamental members of the team, players who make Arsenal better in different ways, and having them all available will give Arteta more options and more flexibility as the season reaches its critical phase. As we head into this busy festive period, Arsenal are in a strong position. They have momentum, they have belief, and they have a manager who knows exactly what it takes to succeed at this level. The 6-year journey under Arteta has been remarkable, but as the man himself would tell you, the journey is far from over. Every day is a new challenge. Every game is a new opportunity to earn the right to be considered among the elite. Thank you so much for watching Arsenal Daily News. If you enjoyed this analysis, make sure you hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications so you never miss our latest Arsenal content. Drop a comment below and let me know what you think about Arteta's comments and whether you believe this is finally the year Arsenal win the Premier League. Until next time, keep the faith, keep supporting the Arsenal, and remember, we are all in this together. Come on, you Gunners. Arsenal Daily News, episode analysis. Hello, Gooners, and welcome back to Arsenal Daily News. Today, we've got some absolutely crucial updates coming out of the Emirates, and I am telling you, this is the kind of content that every single Arsenal supporter needs to hear right now. We are talking about Victor Gyökeres. We are talking about Gabriel Jesus. And we are talking about where the season is heading as we approach the Christmas period. So make sure you stay with me all the way through because there are some real talking points here that could define our entire campaign. Let me set the scene for you. Arsenal right now are in a fascinating position. We had just come off the back of a pretty nervy 2-1 victory against Wolves. And I say nervy because we needed 2 own goals to get the 3 points. Yes, you heard that right. 2 own goals. That tells you everything you need to know about where we are at the moment in terms of our attacking output and our ability to break teams down. But before we even get to that Wolves game, we need to talk about what happened at Aston Villa. We lost that match. Arsenal went to Villa Park and came away with nothing, and that loss has really changed the complexion of this title race. Manchester City and Aston Villa have been reeling us in over recent weeks, and suddenly what looked like a commanding position at the top of the Premier League has become a real dogfight. Now, as we prepare to face Everton at their new Hill Dickinson Stadium on Saturday night, there's a genuine possibility that we could kick off that match behind Manchester City in the table. City are hosting West Ham in a 3 p.m. kickoff. And let's be honest, West Ham are struggling right now. If City win that game before we even kick off at Everton, we will be going into that match knowing we are not top of the tree at Christmas. And for a team with Arsenal's ambitions, for a team that has invested so heavily in the summer, that is simply not good enough. Third place Villa hosts Manchester United on Sunday, so the pressure is absolutely on. Every single match matters now. Every single point is crucial. And this is where the conversation about our squad depth and our attacking options becomes absolutely critical. Which brings me to the main story of the day, Victor Gyökeres, the man we brought in from Sporting CP in the summer with so much fanfare, so much excitement, so much expectation. And I gotta tell you, Mikel Arteta has just come out with some comments about the Swedish striker that I think every Arsenal fan needs to hear and understand. Let me give you the full context here. Gyökeres arrived at Arsenal having scored goals for fun at Sporting. His record in Portugal was absolutely incredible. He was one of the most feared strikers in European football. Arsenal fans were buzzing about the signing. Finally, we had brought in a proper number 9, someone who could lead the line, someone who could guarantee us goals. The excitement was real. But here is the thing. Since joining Arsenal, Gyökeres has only scored 6 times for the club. 6 goals. Now, I know what some of you are thinking. 6 goals is not terrible, right? But when you consider the price tag, when you consider the expectations, when you consider what we need from our number 9 in a title race, 6 goals simply is not enough. And it gets worse. Gyökeres recently returned from a hamstring injury, and since coming back, he has gone 5 games without scoring a single goal. 5 games. 0 goals. For a striker of his caliber, for someone we are relying on to fire us to the title, that is a major concern. So Mikel Arteta was asked directly ahead of the Everton game whether he expects Gyökeres to step up and go to another level in the second half of the season. And I have got to say, Arteta's response was really interesting. He was supportive, but he was also very clear about what he expects. Arteta started by acknowledging that the level of attention on Gyökeres has not changed since he signed until today. He said it is normal. Everyone was excited to bring a number 9 to the club. They did it, and they brought a player with an incredible goal-scoring record who has to adapt to the league. Now that phrase right there, has to adapt to the league. That is key. What Arteta is saying, without being too critical, is that Gyökeres is still finding his feet in the Premier League. The English top flight is different. The physicality is different. The pace is different. The tactical demands are different. And even a striker who scored freely in Portugal needs time to adjust. But here is where it gets really interesting. Arteta went on to explain some of the challenges Gyökeres has faced. He said the striker had no preseason. Think about that for a moment. Gyökeres arrived at Arsenal without a proper preseason to get physically ready, to learn the system, to build chemistry with his teammates. That is a massive disadvantage for any new signing, but especially for a striker who relies so heavily on understanding the movement and patterns of the players around him. Arteta said the first few weeks were difficult because physically Gyökeres was not in his best state, and he is a player that needs that physical condition to perform at his level. So right from the start, Gyökeres was playing catch-up. He was trying to get fit, while also trying to adapt to a new league, a new team, a new system. Then, according to Arteta, Gyökeres kicked on and had a very good period. So there was a stretch where things started to click, where he was looking more comfortable, where the goals were starting to come. But then disaster struck. He got injured, that hamstring injury that I mentioned earlier, and now he is back, but clearly still trying to find his rhythm again. Here is what I found most revealing about Arteta's comments. He said, I saw a lot of positive things in the last 2 games that he has done, and we need to continue to understand him a little bit better in certain situations, and he needs to do the same. Let me break that down for you, because this is really important. Arteta is seeing positive signs. He is seeing things in Gyökeres' game that suggest the striker is close to clicking. But notice what else he said. We need to continue to understand him better, and he needs to understand us better. What that tells me is that the relationship between Gyökeres and his teammates is still developing. They are still figuring out how to play with each other. They are still learning each other's movements, each other's preferences, each other's tendencies. This is not unusual for a new striker, especially one who arrived without a preseason and then suffered an injury. But it is concerning when you are in a title race and you need your main striker to be firing on all cylinders right now, not in 3 months' time. So the big question is, can Gyökeres turn this around in the second half of the season? Arteta clearly believes he can. He said he thinks, so when asked if Gyökeres will go to another level. But belief is not enough. We need results. We need goals. We need Gyökeres to start justifying the faith that Arsenal showed in him when they brought him to North London. Now, let's talk about the other major story from this article. And this one is fascinating in a completely different way. Gabriel Jesus, the Brazilian forward who has been with Arsenal for a few years now, who has had his ups and downs, who has frustrated us at times but also shown moments of absolute brilliance. Jesus recently returned to action from a long-term knee injury. That is huge news for Arsenal because when Jesus is fit and firing, he adds so much to our attack. His work rate, his pressing, his ability to link play, his movement. He is such an important player for the way Arteta wants to play. But here is where it gets interesting. There has been speculation, according to this article, that Arsenal may look to cash in on Jesus. He is 28 years old now. He has 18 months remaining on his contract. And there are always questions about whether Arsenal should sell players before they lose them on a free transfer or before their value drops too much. However, Arteta has made his position crystal clear. He has said he has no intention of selling Jesus. In fact, he insists that Jesus has an important role to play for club over the next few seasons. Not just this season, the next few seasons. That is a real vote of confidence from a manager. And Jesus himself has responded to all the speculation about his future in a really interesting way. He has outlined his plans, and I think this is going to surprise some people. Jesus said that people have asked him, why did not you just leave? Why did not you go to Saudi or back home to Brazil? So clearly, there's been external pressure, there's been noise, there have been people suggesting that maybe it is time for Jesus to move on and get a big payday somewhere else. But here is what Jesus said, and I am quoting from the Players' Tribune here. He said, one day, I would love for everything to come full circle with Palmeiras, but not today. So Jesus does have a long-term plan to return to Palmeiras, the club he joined Manchester City from back in 2017, before moving to Arsenal 5 years later in 2022. That is his boyhood club. That is where his heart is. And one day, he wants to go back there and finish his career. But, and this is the crucial part, not today. Jesus said he feels that he has unfinished business at Arsenal. He does not want to leave. When he came to join Mikel Arteta, his purpose was not only to score goals, his purpose was to win titles. Let me tell you, that is exactly what you want to hear from a player. That is commitment. That is ambition. That is a player who understands what Arsenal is about and what we're trying to achieve. Jesus is saying, look, I could leave. I could go to Saudi Arabia and make a fortune. I could go back to Brazil right now and play for Palmeiras. But I am not doing that because I have not achieved what I came here to achieve. I came to Arsenal to win titles, and I am not leaving until that job is done. That is powerful stuff. That shows you the mentality in this squad. Despite all the frustrations, despite the injuries, despite the setbacks, players like Gabriel Jesus still believe in this project. They still believe that Arsenal can win the Premier League. They still believe that Arsenal can compete for the biggest trophies. And with Jesus now back from injury, with his fitness returning, he could be absolutely crucial in the second half of the season. If Gyökeres is struggling to find his form, having Jesus available gives Arteta options. It gives us flexibility. It gives us a different dimension in attack. But let me bring this back to the bigger picture, because all of these individual stories feed into the same narrative. Arsenal are at a crossroads right now. We are in a title race, but we are being reeled in. We are creating chances. But we needed 2 own goals to beat Wolves. We have a striker in Gyökeres who is supposed to solve our goal-scoring problems, but he has gone 5 games without finding the net. We have Jesus back from injury, but he needs time to get back to full sharpness. The attention has also turned to the January transfer window, according to this article. Arsenal are injury hit, and there is a possibility that we could be active in the market as we look to bolster our chances of challenging across several fronts over the second half of the season. This is a really important point. If Gyökeres continues to struggle, if our attacking output does not improve, Arsenal might need to act in January. We might need to bring in reinforcements. We might need to add more firepower to make sure we do not fall behind in this title race. The match at Everton on Saturday night is absolutely crucial. It is one of those games where you can feel the pressure building. Manchester City are probably going to beat West Ham in the early kickoff. That means we will likely be going into the game knowing we need to win just to stay in touch. There is no margin for error anymore. And Everton away is never an easy fixture. Their New Hill Dickinson Stadium will be bouncing. They will be up for it. They will make it difficult for us. This is exactly the kind of game where we need our big players to step up. We need Gyökeres to find his scoring touch. We need Jesus to show that sharpness. We need our midfield to control the game. We need our defense to stay solid. The reality is, Arsenal invested heavily in the summer. We brought in Gyökeres with the specific intention of having a goal scorer who could fire us to the title. That has not happened yet, but there is still time. There is still half a season to go. And if Arteta is right, if the positive signs he is seeing in Gyökeres translate into goals and performances, then this could still be our year. But the pressure is on. The scrutiny is intense. Every game is being analyzed. Every performance is being picked apart. This is what it means to be at a club like Arsenal. This is what it means to be competing for the Premier League title. There are no easy answers. There are no guarantees. You ever heard on the pitch? Week after week, game after game. So as we head into this Everton match, as we navigate through the Christmas period, as we look ahead to January and the second half of the season, Arsenal fans need to stay patient, but also stay demanding. We need to support Gyökeres as he finds his feet, but we also need him to deliver. We need to celebrate having Jesus back fit, but we also need him to stay fit and contribute goals and assists. This is a pivotal moment in Arsenal season. The next few weeks could define whether we are genuine title contenders or whether we are going to fall short once again. The squad is there. The quality is there. The manager is there. Now, it is about execution. It is about mental strength. It is about showing that we have what it takes to go all the way. That is all for me today on Arsenal Daily News. Make sure you subscribe, hit that notification bell, and let me know in the comments what you think about Gyökeres' form and whether you think he can turn it around. Are you confident Arsenal can stay in this title race? Do you think we need to do business in January? I want to hear all your thoughts. Until next time, Gooners, come on you Gunners.